Differences between narrow-body and wide-body aircraft from a flight attendant's perspective. For flight attendants, narrow-body and wide-body aircraft differ not only in seating capacity or flight paths, but also in the pressure and professional experience. For most passengers, the difference between narrow-body and wide-body aircraft is sometimes simply about short or long-distance flights, or whether the seats are cramped or spacious. However, from the perspective of flight attendants, those who work directly with the cabin from the moment the aircraft doors close until the wheels touch the runway, they are two completely different worlds. Regardless of the type of aircraft or cabin, safety is always the #1 priority. But the size of the aircraft, the flight path, and the length of each trip subtly shape the unique work rhythms, pressures, and emotions of those working in air service. Differences in design. In its simplest terms, narrow-body aircraft have a more compact cabin with only a central aisle. The most common seating configuration is 3-3, while smaller models may have 2-2 or 2-3. Familiar models in this group include the Boeing 737, Airbus A320, and regional jets such as Embraer E-Jets and Bombardier CRJ. Thanks to their moderate size, narrow-body aircraft mainly handle short and medium-haul routes, especially popular on domestic flights. Meanwhile, wide-body aircraft offer a completely different space. The cabin is larger, with 2 aisles, and each row typically has 8 to 10 seats. Typical examples include the Boeing 777, Boeing 787, Airbus A350, and the giant of the skies, the Airbus A380, designed to conquer long-haul journeys and carry a large number of passengers. The larger space allows for a larger galley, more restrooms, and a wider variety of service classes on the same flight. This difference in size and design has created two very different operating environments. Narrow-body aircraft dominate domestic and regional routes, while wide-body aircraft play a leading role on long-haul international routes. For flight attendants, this also means that the work pace, pressure, and professional experience on each type of aircraft are completely different. Another difference between narrow-body and wide-body aircraft lies in the rest area for flight attendants. Narrow-body aircraft rarely have a separate rest area for flight attendants. For example, on longer than normal flights, such as some of United Airlines' specialized routes, flight attendants often have to take turns resting in the economy or first-class seats provided by the airline. Conversely, wide-body aircraft, especially on long-haul routes, almost always have dedicated rest areas for the flight crew. This is crucial for flight attendants to recover their energy during long shifts, day and night. According to a flight attendant who spoke with Simple Flying, large aircraft have more flight attendants, more passengers, and larger galleys. Because they often operate long-haul routes, they are designed with additional rest areas to ensure the flight crew's health and ability to work. Differences in the number of crew members. Besides cabin structure, the crew arrangement is also a very clear difference between the two types of aircraft. Narrow-body aircraft typically have 3 to 6 flight attendants. In the US, aviation regulations require at least 1 flight attendant for every 50 passengers, so smaller aircraft may only need 1, while A321 models with high seating capacity may require up to 5 flight attendants. A smaller crew member means each flight attendant has more responsibilities, managing dozens of rows of seats, numerous emergency exits, and handling the entire service process. Therefore, teamwork is crucial. Flight attendants in the front, middle, and rear cabin frequently support each other, especially when serving business class. Conversely, wide-body aircraft may require from 6 to over 20 flight attendants, depending on the aircraft type and length. For Emirates' long-haul A380s, this number can reach up to 24 flight attendants along with cabin support staff. Therefore, the flight crew is organized according to a clear hierarchical structure. The chief flight attendant or service manager is responsible for coordinating the entire passenger cabin, with flight attendants below responsible for specific areas, from first class to economy. Many flight attendants liken working on a wide-body aircraft to running a miniature business rather than working in a close-knit group. Even after a flight lasting over 10 hours, some people have barely spoken to colleagues in other cabins or on different floors. Specialized assignments improve service quality, but also demand great physical strength and endurance. If working on a narrow-body aircraft is like a sprint, then working on a wide-body is a true marathon. Even a single meal service can last for hours, serving hundreds of passengers at an altitude of over 10,000 meters. Same mission. For passengers, service or cabin structure are often the most easily recognizable differences when comparing narrow-body and wide-body aircraft. But for flight attendants, the most important measure is always safety. On narrow-body aircraft, the small cabin and limited number of emergency exits force each flight attendant to cover almost the entire space in an emergency. The smaller the crew, the heavier the responsibility placed on each individual. Conversely, wide-body aircraft operate on the principle of decentralized command. Each flight attendant is assigned a clear role. One handles emergency exits, another directs passenger flow at congested areas, and another assists in the galley and auxiliary cabins. Furthermore, the safety equipment on wide-body aircraft is more diverse and complex, requiring flight attendants to undergo specialized training for each aircraft type to ensure seamless coordination in all situations. According to Jennifer Pierce, former flight attendant and editor of Simple Flying, teamwork among flight attendants becomes more crucial than ever when working on wide-body aircraft. She believes that practicing crew resource management, CRM, is not simply a professional skill, but a mandatory requirement, especially given that flight attendants work in various geographically dispersed areas within the large cabin. Ultimately, whether working on narrow-body or wide-body aircraft, the biggest commonality remains safety as the top priority. As airlines tend to expand the range of narrow-body aircraft and increase the frequency of wide-body aircraft, the line between the two types is gradually narrowing. However, on any journey, flight attendants always silently adapt, maintaining the operation rhythm to ensure that every flight takes off and lands safely and smoothly.